Okay, so today we're going to talk about Unity. We're going to start by a brief Unity of what Unity, I guess, of what it is and why we care about it. Then we're going to do a quick demo and sort of teach you guys, show you guys what's actually going on this page. And then we're also going to actually make a few game objects of this game. We're going to recreate a few of the items. So basically, Unity is a software development kit, which it happens to be very good for making games. So you can do 2D games, 3D games with user inputs, visualizations, light, shadings, all that jazz you'd expect in a game. And so this has actually been used to make Fallout Shelter, for instance, one of the Angry Birds games apparently, and it's actually the default developer kit for Wii U. And one thing I really liked about this is that it has a very large community online, and so they have a bunch of tutorials. I followed 3 or 4 of them already. They have really good docs and active forums, so if you have a question, you just go there, or you can oftentimes they'll already be there, sort of like Stack Overflow. And so I made the following game, which I'm going to demo for you guys. So it's basically a disk drop game. So we're going to click on the top of the screen. It's going to create a disk. It's going to fall down, and we're going to count the points and everything. It has gravity. It's going to hit the pegs. It's going to fall off the pegs. And then, so you saw there, it's going to fall down, hit one of the boxes. Its score is going to increase in the top right over here accordingly. And the disk count is going to change as well. And then once we're down to 0 disks, we get a little message. Congrats, I got 3 points. And I can play again because we want to make games. We want to be addictive. So you want to have repeat. Just click enter, and we can play again. Great. So that's my game for you. So right now, you guys are focused on the center, but there's naturally a bunch of other stuff going on in this editor. So on the left, we have the entire hierarchy of the game. That's just everything you can see in the scene right now, which is in the center. So I can click on the borders, for instance, and you'll see they get highlighted a bit. And if we actually open up the borders, I can click a specific item of this border, and it's going to highlight it so I can play around with it now. I can move it like this in the top, and on the right over here, you can see the transform, which is basically this location on the scene change accordingly. So I'm going to just do Command Z, bring it back to position. So yeah, then on the right is the inspector. So that gives you all the details, whichever item you're currently clicking on. And then the bottom is basically just our left tab in Sublime. It's our folder, so you can go through all the items in the game and pick whichever one, and you can organize them however you want. And so from here, I'm actually going to make one of the disks ourselves in front of you guys. So first to do that, all we have to do is just, so basically make it very easy for you to do stuff. You just make basic objects, and you sort of compositional, you just add stuff to it over and over again. So we're going to make a 2D object, because right now we're in the 2D version, because it's a lot easier to demo for you guys in this amount of time. We're going to make a sprite. So you see that little circle right here? That's what the sprite is right now. It has a transform, which is the location on the scene, and then it has a sprite renderer. But our sprite renderer doesn't have a sprite, and a sprite is basically just an image. And so I'm going to click on this little circle right here, and it's going to scan my folder for all the images I have, and we're just going to take the default knob. Okay, so I'm going to move it up here, and I'm going to click play. What do you guys think is going to happen right now? You guys talk. You guys are allowed to talk. Or, okay, we'll press play, and just like you guys, nothing happens. We don't move yet. It's not like the disk I already made. And so to make stuff actually happen, we have to add a rigid body to it. So we're going to do a few more clicks again. So add component, physics 2D, rigid body. So a rigid body basically just adds physics to whichever thing you're trying to render. And so now it's going to have right here, it has a mass, and it has gravity, and it has a bunch of other components that you guys don't care about right now. And so this time, what's going to happen? Any clue? Any guesses? All right, we're going to go again. So it's going to play, but it falls out the screen. Not quite what we want just yet. So we're going to add some extra component, one extra component to this. So there's a thing called a collider, which you can do several shapes. So this time we're going to do circle collider. We're going to focus in on our object, and you see this little circle right here? The green circle. So we can actually deactivate that, so you can see it come on and off. That's our box collider. And if you look at the other objects around here, so this is our left border. Oh, this is very small, but whatever. You see a very slight green shade to it. It also has a box collider. And so now it knows how to react. It's going to basically just bounce off other box colliders, and it's going to react accordingly. So we're going to move this guy over here. I guess we'll rezoom a little better, the center. Press play. The camera's going to do it, and now our thing works properly. It falls to the bottom. Not quite working how we want it, but we're getting closer. So while we're on the box colliders, another thing we can mention is you can add triggers to them. So a trigger is basically an event emitter. So on the score boxes, we actually have box colliders that have the trigger activated. And so what it's going to do is basically going to say, okay, if it hits another box collider that doesn't have a trigger, it's going to say, you hit me, and send it to that box, to that other game object. So we're going to use that later. Okay, so then what we can also do, so we have this disk sort of working right now. We're going to save it for later. So we're going to go into our prefabs folder and simply click it from here, give it a name, up, demo disk and drop it over here. So in a bunch of games, you want to repeat, you want to have the same items over and over again. So this is what a prefab folder is for. And so right now we can simply go here, throw it back in, and now we have an exact copy of the object. And then if you have one, so there's just instances of the object, and if we modify one of them, we can do this. So you see this one on the right got changed. But if I wanted to affect all of them, I can simply click apply, and it's going to go back to the prefab. So if I had 5 of them in the game at once, I can go throw another one, and then change only this one. Oopsies. Click this one again, change its color, do apply. It's going to apply to all of them. So that's like really cool if you want to just do like broader changes that happen to go to every single instance of it, and it keeps your code a lot more modular. Okay, so now we have it going to the bottom doing that, but we want it to disappear once it actually hits one of those boxes. So let's bring this guy down here for our demo, and so we're going to add a script. So in Unity, you can use JavaScript, but due to all the demos are in C#, and C# is not all that much harder than, it's just, I mean, it's different, but it's not that hard. So I'm going to show you guys, the main difference is that it's a typed language, which means that whenever you have a function that takes parameters, you have to say what type it returns, what type of parameters it receives, and all that. So basically when you start any script, it's going to look like this. So right now we're not going to use any of this, and we're going to use that trigger I mentioned earlier. And so we're going to say void, because it doesn't return anything, on trigger, enter 2D, collider 2D, because we're in 2D right now. We can call this one whatever we want it to, up. And so then we're going to say game object dot set active is to false. And if I didn't do any typos or anything, normally once we press this, the disk is now going to disappear. But before we do this, for instance, saying the docs are very good. So if I didn't know how something worked, I can just highlight it and do, like if I was looking at somebody else's code and I saw this in it, I can highlight it, do command single quote, and it's going to open up directly the documentation for me. It does a search on the docs, and I can say like, okay, collide 2D, enter 2D, and I can see how it works, which is really cool and helped me a lot learn how to make this work. So we're going to do this. I believe I added it properly onto this guy. Yeah, so this guy now on the bottom right, you can see he has the demo disk applied to it, and if I did no typos, it should fall, and I made a mistake, but it's all good. I'm just going to copy paste some code because I have that. On trigger enter 2D, I think I made a typo in declaring on trigger enter 2D, but that's fine. So we're going to take also the extra code I wanted to show you guys in a second. Okay, so now we're going to comment out this code for now. Whoop. And I'm still good on time. All right. And so now, yeah, okay, so now you see that it actually hit the trigger, and it said set octave is false, so it's still in the scene. It's over here over here. We could put it true again, but it's just an easy way to get it out of the scene without having to do more intensive stuff. And so now, one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that each object can have a tag. So right now on our disk, right here on the top right, we got a tag which is do disk, and each of these score boxes have their own tag with their according score. So you can look through the list right here. You have score box 1, 3, 5, and 10, which is for the score. And so this is if we go back to our actual code example. We're just doing basic if statements. So like, okay, if it's score box 1, we're going to update the game with 1. And so here, I'm actually calling another piece of code that's a part of my game. So I have a game manager. I guess I wrote a script called game manager. I'm just finding the instance of that, and I'm doing game manager right here. So game manager.instance.update game. So just calling that method. And I guess so either we can do questions, or I could go a little more into this, as you guys like, more into the game manager. So this is like an intro. If you guys, I have like a bunch of other projects I can show you guys like on the side if you're interested. I was just trying to show you it's very easy to do stuff. I made this project over the weekend in like 3 or 4 hours. It's like a good intro. And so like I guess like if you look at it, it looks like, I don't know, I never imagined I could make a simple game like that in not much time and not much investment. And so that's basically what I'm trying to sell you guys on Unity. It's fun to learn. It's very useful for games. It's getting increasingly popular. It was only first came out in 2005. In 2015, there's like 50, 60 games made in it every year, which is pretty cool. And also like big budget games too. So yeah. Questions? Because I did a lot of
So what's the disadvantage, I guess, of using JavaScript in Unity versus using C#?
Well, it's just mainly that all the tutorials are in C#, and they basically have like an it's an ECMAScript based language so they just call it JavaScript. It's not quite the same thing, and so it's still a typed language as well. And so all the tutorials are in C#. It's also better that way. And actually one of the advantages, especially for a typed language, is they can detect errors a lot more easily. So if you know, because it knows what each object is. So if you try to do like a method on it that doesn't exist, it's just going to throw an error. So actually, if I don't do instance right here, I think might instantly get an error if I try to go back in the game. Yeah, so you can see bottom right, it already detected the error before I ran my code or anything. So that's what it allows it to do. Because it's saying like, oh, you try to save something doesn't match the type, something's wrong here. And so basically it helps you like keep track of what's going on a little better. That's, I guess, one of the advantages of typed language. It makes it a little longer to code, but it prevents errors. So it helps prevent errors. Tom, did you have a question? No, okay. Anybody else? Cool.